Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here, and this is take 3 because I keep going on unrelated tangents about Disney movies. So today I'm looking at the article Wreck-It Ralph 2, Disney Princesses Unite Over Feminism from BBC News. And the thing about this article is if you have seen the teaser trailer for Wreck-It Ralph 2, there's absolutely no news in this article. So I'm going to include an archive link in the description so that if you go read this article, you won't reward the BBC for this kind of clickbait. There's nothing new here that you don't already know if you've watched the commercial for the movie. But it does provide something interesting to talk about, which is Disney princesses and feminism. Now, the other interesting thing about this movie that I'm not going to be talking about in this video is how the Disney princesses are represented, how their faces have kind of been reconstructed a bit from the 2D versions of the characters. And I think for that video, I'm actually going to draw the Disney princesses to make my points about facial construction, because that's something that's really of interest to me as an artist. This is a little bit more about a political culture war question. Oh, why do we always have to have the culture war in our Disney movies? But I think this is a good chance to talk about it, since I just know that we're going to have this debate over and over again, once a year, once every 2 years. Every time a Disney movie comes out, we're going to have this debate again. And that debate is, are the Disney movies generally problematic and anti-feminist, or are they generally progressive and pro-feminist? And when you think about it, why do we have this debate crop up every time a Disney movie comes out? So the Moana will come out and people will say, oh boy, it's the first Disney movie with a strong female protagonist who don't need no man. And then people will remind them that Brave was a thing, that Jasmine was very active in her story, that Mulan is literally about a girl dressing as a boy and fighting in a war. So it's like these people who are kind of making this feminist argument. Oh boy, finally we have a feminist Disney character. They've missed years and years worth of these characters being active and doing interesting things, being real characters. But what's kind of generally assumed is that the early Disney characters are more problematic and the later Disney characters are more feminist or more progressive in their politics. And I think if you look at these movies in detail with progressive lenses on, you can always find problematic elements. You can always find something in any story that has weight and meaning and emotional power. You can always find something problematic if you go looking for it actively. So one reason I think this debate happens over and over again is it's not an easy one side versus the other side debate. There are actually 4 sides to this debate. So side number 1 would be this movie has a progressive feminist message, and the opposite to that would be this movie doesn't have a progressive feminist message. And then the other aspect of the debate would be feminist messages are good for children, and we want these to be in our Disney movies. And the counterpart to that would be we don't want feminist messages in our movies for children. And so because of that, you could have people with a mix of those 2 views. So you could say, I'm a critic of feminism, and I think that the Disney movies are feminist. Or you could say, I'm a critic of feminism, and I don't see anything wrong with the Disney movies. You could say, I'm a huge proponent of feminism, and these Disney movies, they're so sexist. They're all teaching little girls how to be meek and not do anything for themselves. Or you could be a real what's the word for it? Harden the paint feminist, and you could see a pro-feminist message in the Disney characters. Or you could maybe pick a few movies that you think are more feminist or less feminist, but that's generally how it gets tossed into the air. So because of that, these debates end up spiraling downwards a lot. So if I say, I don't know if I like the feminist politics in some of the recent Disney movies, someone could argue against me, well, feminism is great. What's your problem with feminism? Or someone could say, oh, the Disney movies aren't feminist. Aren't you just seeing political messages everywhere? And I want to be careful about that, because I think Disney itself is corporate. Disney hasn't made a pro-abortion Disney princess yet, because they know that they want to make money from red state parents who go to these movies with all their kids. You know, the red state parents, they have tons of kids. The more environmental parents who think that, children are creating global warming, well, they tend to have less children, which means less money for Disney from blue state parents than from red state parents. So I think Disney has been trying to walk this line for a long time where they're trying to appeal to people regardless of politics. But I definitely think you can see an adjustment in how they portray their princess characters over the years. So if Mulan is a first-wave feminist character because she puts on boys' clothes and goes and joins a war, then Moana and Frozen, they seem to have, I'm not going to say they're feminist propaganda. I've seen criticisms from both Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson complaining that the Frozen movie is sort of this postmodern progressive propaganda. And I see their point. I don't think I'm quite willing to state it as bluntly as they will. But how's Frozen different than Snow White or Sleeping Beauty? Well, in Frozen, the girl isn't saved by the boy. She's saved by her sister in the end. And the reason I'm a little bit more forgiving of Frozen than some other people on the right is because I think it is important for you to have stories where siblings have love for one another and help one another. So I think it is good to have a movie where one sister learns to, forgive and love her other sister. And it's good grief. Okay, controlling the tangents. I was going to go on a tangent about all like the sexual politics in the Disney movies too, but that's for another video. So pretty much I do see a trend towards the Disney movies becoming more political in the recent movies. And I don't know what Wreck-It Ralph 2 will be like. Maybe I'll go to it and I'll say, yep, it definitely had a feminist message. But all we're going off of now is the trailer. And this one joke in the trailer was apparently enough for this BBC News writer to conclude that this movie will have a feminist message, that the characters will form a feminist bond. And you can see tons of feminists on Twitter getting excited about the Disney princesses and the potential pro-feminist message of this movie. I think because feminists and the left in general really care about children's movies, and they really care about having these ideas in the entertainment that children consume. So my thought is, though, that if we watch this trailer again, and if we listen to the joke that prompted all this, why is that joke funny? So I'm just going to remind you. So Vanellope, the little girl character in Wreck-It Ralph, she accidentally finds herself in the dressing room for the Disney princesses. And Rapunzel asks her, do people assume all your problems get solved because a big, strong man showed up? Yes, what is up with that? Vanellope replies. And then the girls all kind of bond over that. And I definitely see the gender politics in that joke, but I laughed when I heard that joke. And the reason I laughed when I heard that joke is it's actually an anti-feminist joke. What? Okay, think about it. Why is it that people assume that the Disney princesses are all saved by a big, strong man? Is that because conservatives go out and they write blogs saying, oh, this movie has a girl saved by a big, strong man? It's so anti-conservative. It's so anti-Christian. I'm so mad about it. The reason that people talk about Disney princesses being saved by a big, strong man is because of sites like The Mary Sue or Jezebel or Everyday Feminism, applying the lens of intersectional feminism to Disney movies, looking for problematic elements, looking for anti-feminist patriarchal messages in Disney movies, and then complaining about that. And I think that Disney has listened to things like that and adjusted their formula over the years. But the reason the joke in the trailer is funny is that the people who get upset over the Disney princesses being anti-feminist characters are usually feminists. Yeah, people who are anti-feminist, someone who's a critic of feminism, like me, I don't get upset if a man comes and saves a Disney princess, and I don't get upset if Mulan dresses as a boy and joins a war, because I look at them as characters going on a journey, and it's okay for characters to need help from someone else from time to time, including a boy they're romantically interested in. That doesn't diminish the character. It's okay for a girl to take more choices into her own hands and to be more active in her life like Mulan is. Really, if you look at any Disney movie, including the modern ones, hard enough, if you go and try to find problematic patriarchal messages, you can always find them, because I think patriarchy is so broadly defined. any good story, any meaningful story with ideas about right and wrong in it, there's some way you can spin it into a problematic patriarchal story. But will the finished product of Wreck-It Ralph 2, will it be an anti-feminist movie or a pro-feminist movie? I don't think so. I think that Disney's going to play it safe and not try to upset too many feelings. Maybe there'll be a few little girl power messages. But I just found it ironic that all of this talk about feminism and the Disney princesses was started effectively by a gag at the expense of radical feminists, which is where I think I'm going to wrap this up. The new Disney movies are not good movies from the perspective of radical feminism. In fact, the radical feminist theory would probably see the Disney movies as absolutely destructive and terrible, because to the extent that they have any feminist politics at all, they're containing radical feminist politics. They're neutering radical feminist politics. So I think the feminists who like Disney movies, they have to either moderate their feminist views, or they have to sacrifice some of their love for the Disney characters. You can't be a dyed-in-the-wool, really well-informed, woke, radical feminist and still enjoy the Disney movies if you're sincere about your beliefs. But you can kind of be a mainstream girl power, girl, this is my fight song, I'm with her. You can be that type of feminist who doesn't really read much of the theory and think that the Disney characters are feminist characters without looking too deeply into the actual feminist critique of princess stories. So it's a little sad. It's just illustrative of the whole reason I started this channel, which is that I was reading a Legend of Zelda manga. I was really resonating with it. I was just so moved by the story of this young man who has these friendships he cares about, and he sacrifices his comfort, and he has to endure pain and suffering on the behalf of his friends, and realizing that, oh, this is a patriarchal story. Oh, everything I love about the Legend of Zelda fantasy, that's viewed as problematic from the perspective of radical feminism. And that's true of my love for the Disney princesses too. So it might be fun to go through the Disney princesses one at a time and look at the Grimm fairy tales they're loosely based on, and just make my the Disney princesses are not merely damsels in distress argument, kind of going one at a time through them, and then getting up to the new ones. And then the new question would be, have they changed? Have they become either radical feminist or at least sort of moderate feminist icons in the more recent Disney films? So I really enjoyed the first Wreck-It Ralph. I am going to watch Wreck-It Ralph 2. I hope that if they do a few gags like the one we see in the trailer, I hope that doesn't become a theme and they try to make the Disney princesses into feminist icons, because I don't think that would be wise for Disney to do as a future direction for these characters. I think that would be to the detriment of the movie. But based only on the trailer, I'm not that worried, and I actually am looking forward to seeing this movie. And I will be doing a follow-up video where I draw the Disney princesses and talk about how I'm not entirely happy with the visual direction they're taking these characters in. But even that isn't going to be enough to soil me on this movie entirely. Anyway, I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. Thanks for putting up with this rambling video. I love you guys. If you want to see when I draw the Disney princesses and talk about facial structure, then you should like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell for notifications so you will be notified when I draw the Disney princesses and settle this internet debate once and for all. Love you guys, and I'll catch you later.